For the Straw Hat Pirates to get where they are, they had to face many challenges. Yes, defeats are something they're more than used to, but can you remember all the defeats they've suffered throughout their adventures? I'll give you a hint. There are so many that you probably won't remember most of them. Come on in, because that's exactly what I'm going to show you now. Nami, 1 defeat. Leading the first position among those who have been defeated the least, we have Nami, with only 1 defeat. Yes, throughout the entire series, she was defeated only once, and it happened against Kuma in Thriller Bark. To defeat the entire Straw Hat crew, Kuma used his power Ursus Shock, which knocked out a large part of the crew, including Nami and Chopper. Franky, 2 defeats. Franky's first defeat happened in his childhood. When his master, the legendary Tom, was being taken by the Navy, Franky tried to stop the sea train but ended up being thrown far away. This forced him to modify his body with robotic parts to survive. The second defeat occurred in Thriller Bark, when he tried to face Kuma. The curious thing is that, upon realizing the power of Kuma's paws, Franky thought it would be easy to beat him. But of course, Kuma used one of his abilities that knocked out the cyborg in one shot. Chopper, 3 defeats. Although he's one of the weakest members of the crew, Chopper is among the least defeated. The first defeat we saw was in Skypiea. After defeating Gedatsu, one of Enel's priests, Chopper was confident. However, his joy was short-lived, as he had to face Ohm's Iron Trial, another priest of Enel. In the end, Chopper was defeated and eliminated from Enel's game. In Thriller Bark, he was also defeated by Kuma. Like Nami, he couldn't withstand Ursus Shock. Finally, in Onigashima, he suffered another defeat, but this one is in quotes. Our beloved reindeer fought against 2 Yonko commanders, Prospero and Queen. That's right, 2 commanders at the same time. He fought evenly, but since Monster Point has a time limit, Chopper ended up suffering the collateral effects of the transformation and couldn't emerge victorious. Jinbei, 3 defeats. Moving on to the crew's Fishman, we have Jinbei. His first defeat happened when he refused to participate in the war against Whitebeard. The reason? He was an ally of Newgate. By making this decision, the government revoked his Shichibukai title and imprisoned him in Impel Down. After leaving prison, he helped Luffy in the battle against the Navy. During this war, Jinbei experienced highs and lows. One of the most critical moments was his fight against Mihawk, where he was defeated with a single blow that sent him to the bottom of the sea. His third defeat occurred during the same war. While trying to escape with Luffy, he was intercepted by Akainu, who pierced his chest with a single devastating blow. Usopp, 4 defeats. Usopp is known for being one of the weaker members of the crew at times, but he hasn't been defeated that many times. The first defeat happened in Skypiea when, during Enel's attack, he was electrocuted by lightning. His second defeat was quite humiliating. After being robbed by the Franky family, Usopp tried to recover the money, but ended up getting beaten to the point where he could barely move. The third defeat came shortly after that. Outraged by the decision to abandon the Mary, he challenged Luffy to a duel, where the winner would keep the ship. But since his opponent was none other than Luffy, Usopp was defeated. His last defeat happened in Thriller Bark, during a confrontation with Kuma. Usopp fired a flaming shot, but Kuma returned it, burning Usopp in the process. Brook, 5 defeats. Brook's first defeat happened when he was still part of the Rumbar Pirates. The entire crew suffered a terrible defeat, leading to the death of all members, including Brook. We don't know exactly how or against whom they lost, but what is clear is that this defeat cost them their lives. Fortunately, thanks to his devil fruit, the Yomi Yomi no Mi, Brook was able to come back to life as a skeleton. After years of sailing alone, Brook faced the Shichibukai Gecko Mariah, who defeated him and stole his shadow to implant it into the corpse of Shimotsuki Ryuma, the legendary samurai from Wano. Determined to recover his shadow, Brook trained hard. However, when he finally faced Ryuma, he was defeated again due to the samurai's superior swordsmanship. His fourth defeat was similar to Chopper's. He couldn't resist Kuma's Ursochoki attack in Thriller Bark and fell unconscious. Brook's fifth defeat was against the fearsome Yonko Big Mom. To obtain a copy of the Road Poneglyph, he faced Big Mom in a direct confrontation. Impressively, Brook managed to hold his own for a few seconds, demonstrating great courage and skill. However, he was ultimately defeated and captured to be turned into a pet. Despite this, Brook achieved his goal, securing the hidden Poneglyph. It was a strategic defeat that ended in victory. Robin, 5 defeats. Robin's first defeat occurred against Crocodile. When she confronted him in front of the Poneglyph, Crocodile demanded that she reveal the location of the Pluton weapon. When Robin refused, he nearly took her life. Her second defeat occurred in Skypiea. During Enel's survival game, Robin managed to stay among the last participants, but she was defeated by the god of Skypiea. The third defeat happened on Longring Island when the Straw Hats faced Admiral Aokiji. Despite the group's best efforts, they were no match for the Admiral, resulting in Robin being frozen. Her fourth defeat also happened in Thriller Bark, where she fell to Kuma's Ursochoki attack, becoming incapacitated. The fifth and final defeat so far occurred in Dressrosa. During the events of this saga, Robin was turned into a toy by Sugar's devil fruit powers. This transformation not only restricted her freedom, but also erased everyone's memories of her existence, making her invisible to the world. Sanji, 7 defeats. Sanji's first defeat happened in his childhood against his brothers. They constantly bullied him mercilessly due to his different status within the Vinsmoke family. In the Baratie arc, Sanji faced 2 of Don Krieg's pirates, Gin and Pearl. Despite fighting bravely against both, he was defeated, especially by Gin, who showed superiority in the battle. The third defeat occurred in Skypiea. During the confrontation with Enel, Sanji was struck by a powerful lightning attack. At least, he lost in style, saying he was waiting to light his cigarette before being knocked out. In Eni's lobby, Sanji faced Khalifa, but refused to fight seriously because she was a woman. He ended up defeated and only escaped thanks to Nami's intervention, who arrived in time to save him. Another defeat came in Thriller Bark, where Sanji suffered from Kuma's Ursochoki attack, becoming seriously weakened. Even so, he tried to sacrifice himself in Zoro's place, but the swordsman stopped him, knocking him out with a blow to take the sacrifice himself. The sixth defeat occurred in Dressrosa during a brief fight against Doflamingo. Although Sanji showed some balance in the beginning of the fight, he was caught off guard by Doflamingo's strings. He only escaped death thanks to Law's intervention, who saved him at the last moment. The seventh defeat happened in his battle against his father, Judge Vinsmoke. Sanji was about to win, but he froze upon seeing Judge's men sacrificing their lives during the fight. Taking advantage of Sanji's hesitation, Judge launched a direct attack, defeating him. Luffy, 13 defeats. If you think Luffy has never been defeated, you're wrong. After all, if there's one thing he knows how to do besides fighting, it's falling in battle. The first defeat was against Smoker. Using the powers of his Logia fruit, the Marine captain didn't give Luffy a chance. The second and third defeats happened against Crocodile. In the first encounter, the villain pierced Luffy with his hook. In the second, even after a more balanced fight, Crocodile managed to defeat him again, leaving the Straw Hat at the brink of death. Luffy was also defeated by Aokiji in Long Ring Long Land. The Admiral won effortlessly, freezing the protagonist and leaving him unable to fight. The fifth defeat came in Water 7, during the first confrontation with Lucci. The CP9 agent defeated Luffy effortlessly, showing his immense superiority at the time. Later, Luffy faced Magellan in Impel Down. The prison director defeated him with his poisonous powers, leaving Luffy on the brink of death and in urgent need of treatment. In Punk Hazard, Luffy suffered at the hands of Caesar Clown. Using his scientific knowledge, Caesar removed the oxygen from the room, leaving Luffy unconscious and completely vulnerable. In Whole Cake Island, Luffy endured a harsh emotional and physical defeat. Sanji, wanting to protect the Baratie and Zeph, attacked Luffy with his kicks and defeated him, forcing him to step back. Later, during Sanji and Pudding's wedding, Luffy faced Big Mom. Even using Gear 4, he was no match for the Yonko and was quickly defeated, with no chance to counter. The 10th defeat was against Katakuri. During the intense battle, Luffy was even crushed by the commander's Mochi, who became so confident in his victory that he started eating while waiting for the protagonist to finish losing. The last 4 defeats of Luffy were against Kaido, all in Wano. In the first confrontation in Kuri, Kaido knocked Luffy out with a single blow. During the battle with the Supernovas, Kaido defeated him again, demonstrating his overwhelming strength. Then, in Onigashima, Kaido threw Luffy off the island, leaving him unconscious. Finally, before Nika's awakening, Kaido won once more, nearly ending the battle at that moment. Luffy has accumulated many defeats throughout his journey, but each one has made him stronger. And as we know, he never gives up. Zoro, 2006 defeats. Zoro is by far the Straw Hat member with the most defeats. The main reason? his daily battles against Kuina when he was still a child. He lost to her no less than 2,000 times, and he only stopped losing because, unfortunately, Kuina suffered an accident and fell down the stairs. His 2001st defeat occurred during the Baratie arc, in his duel against Dracula Mihawk. Mihawk was overwhelming, humiliating Zoro with his defeat, but in an honorable way, recognizing the young swordsman's potential. Another significant defeat was in Arlong Park. Despite fighting while still suffering from the injuries caused by Mihawk, Zoro faced Arlong. However, the Fishman won, and in the process reopened all of Zoro's wounds. In Skypiea, Zoro suffered another notable setback when facing the self-proclaimed God Enel. With his electrical powers, Enel easily defeated Zoro, leaving him unconscious. Later in Thriller Bark, Zoro was defeated by Gecko Moria, who even went so far as to steal his shadow and use it in one of his zombies. However, the most painful defeat was against Kuma, also in Thriller Bark. Zoro, in an act of extreme sacrifice, decided to absorb all the pain and exhaustion that Luffy had suffered in his battle against Moria. This left him completely defeated, but in an incredibly honorable and heroic way. The next defeat occurred in Sabaody Archipelago when Zoro faced Admiral Kizaru. Still weakened from the previous confrontation with Kuma, Zoro had no chance. He only survived thanks to Rayleigh's intervention, who saved him at the last moment. And of course, we can't forget the collective defeat against Kuma when he faced all the Straw Hats in Sabaody. The cyborg sent each of them to different places, which despite seeming cruel, was an action aimed at their safety. Still, it was a devastating and inevitable defeat. But do you know which defeat surpasses all these? It's the defeat of those who leave this video without subscribing to the channel. Don't make that mistake. So hit the subscribe button down below. I promise you won't regret it. Thank you so much for your attention, a big hug, and see you next time.